What do you do, bro? What do I do?
That big yellow house, just the other side of the Crime Watch sign, is a short-term rental where a woman was shot to death early this morning.
Not something that you'd expect, and it's kind of got us all a little bit rattled.
It was more than just nerves that were rattled at 40th and College Avenue just before 1 a.m. It was windows, too, punctured by bullets.
There's one round of gunshots, really rapid fire, automatic, and then it might have been 2 or 3 minutes later there was another one. So yeah, clearly a lot of rounds were fired last night.
Cars rushed 40th and Central, 40th and Park. There was probably over 100 people in here when the shots rang off.
Any officer that's coming up here, clear all these juveniles out of the crime scene right now.
12 hours later, the decorations for the after-prom party at the short-term rental were still in place, in the same driveway where a photograph was taken of someone with guns attending the festivities just a couple hours earlier.
My wife showed me a picture of folks out in front of this very distinctive yellow house, and they had holding up automatic firearms and handguns. So, yeah, there were guns at the house.
Police collected at least 80 shell casings from the first round of shots fired at the front door of the house and the second round at the partygoers who rushed outside.
Then I saw the car backing up the street with the lights off, and I didn't know what was going on there. It seemed a little suspicious, and so I just was watching, and then all of a sudden they started slowly creeping that way. It's like they were waiting for folks to come outside to go back out again. But at least for me, it sounded like they were shooting, and then people from the house were shooting back at them.
It just, bad judgment, sucks. Like no other way to put it.
The search goes on for the shooters. On the north side, Russ McQuaid, Fox 59 News.
Hours after prom celebrations ended in Indianapolis, a late-night gathering inside a rental home turned into an active crime scene filled with shell casings, shattered windows, and unanswered questions. Among the people at the party was Brittany Grundy, a woman who had spent her final day doing something meaningful for her child, helping her daughter celebrate one of the biggest nights of her teenage life. But before the night was over, she walked into something far more dangerous at a party she had no reason to fear. Before sunrise, detectives from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department were blocking off streets, interviewing witnesses, and trying to piece together what caused gunfire to suddenly erupt during the crowded post-prom event. One neighbor later revealed that a bullet tore through her window and into her couch, something she said had never happened in their neighborhood before. Witnesses described hearing rapid gunshots echo through the area as people ran in every direction trying to survive the chaos.
But I'm here with Brandy Mitchell, who lives right across the street from the shooting. And Brandy, tell us what exactly happened last night.
Hi, we heard gunshots that sound like firecrackers in the middle of the night. Over 60 gunshots, just sounds like Armageddon outside. It was so scary.
And Brandy, we know your house was struck with 6 or 7 bullets. Can you show us some of these bullet holes?
Yes, one bullet hole came through my front window right here in my living room. It traveled all the way through my furniture and through my wall. So we usually are down here, but last night we wasn't, and this is what happened.
All right, so let's take a look at some of these other bullet holes. It went through the chair. We can see the entry and the exit, and then one went all the way back here to the wall. And then, Brandy, we also have a couple bullet holes in the back of the house. Let's take a look at those.
Yes.
So, Brandy, you say this is typically a peaceful and quiet neighborhood.
It is a very nice neighborhood. I grew up here all my life, and we've never had any issues like this whatsoever.
Okay, and we still don't know all the details of this event last night, but tell us what you saw at the event and what you think it was.
Well, actually, I didn't see much of anything but young children having a good time, and I don't know what transpired from that point, but this is what happened with the last bullet hole that came through my back room.
That is a huge bullet hole. Brandy, why do you think with your house being struck so many times that your family is safe and that no one was hurt?
I just feel like it was the grace of God that covered my home and everybody else that did not get hurt last night because it was very scary.
Well, thank you, Brandy, and we are glad you didn't get hurt.
Thank you so much.
Investigators believe tension may have started building among attendees moments before the violence exploded, but many details remain unclear. Who brought weapons to the party? What triggered the shooting? And what really happened inside that house in the final moments before the celebration became a homicide investigation? You're watching True Crime Dark Diaries, where the spotlight of social media casts the darkest shadows. Subscribe if you want the unfiltered truth behind the trending hashtags, because by the time a story explodes online, the tragedy has already happened. Now let's dive in. This story takes us to Indianapolis, Indiana, a major Midwestern city with dense residential neighborhoods, active nightlife areas, and ongoing investigations involving violent crime connected to gatherings and domestic settings. The case centers on Brittany Grundy, a 38-year-old mother who lived on the north side of Indianapolis, the same area where she was raised, built her home, and later died. She was described by people who knew her as calm, approachable, and supportive, with a consistent presence in her community. Her daughters were the focus of her daily life, and she was closely involved in their upbringing and milestones. As prom season approached, she became involved in planning the celebration for her daughter, including arrangements connected to the event and the activities that would follow after prom. Reports indicate she personally helped organize the post-prom gathering that was scheduled to take place later that night. Investigators later confirmed that Brittany was present at the post-prom event held at a rental property in Indianapolis. The gathering had been intended to extend the prom celebration into the early hours. What began as a planned family occasion in a familiar environment later became the starting point of a homicide investigation that unfolded after violence occurred at the gathering. The post-prom gathering took place at a rented home on the north side of Indianapolis, Indiana, arranged for students following their formal school prom. Guests arrived in groups after the event concluded, and the residence filled as attendees moved between indoor and outdoor spaces. Early in the evening, the environment reflected a standard post-prom gathering, with music playing, conversations occurring across different rooms, and guests organizing themselves into small social groups. As the night continued, additional individuals arrived, and movement throughout the property increased. The house contained multiple areas where people gathered independently, including the living room, kitchen, and backyard. Guests circulated between these spaces without a fixed structure, and the overall flow of the event became less organized over time. Brittany Grundy was present at the gathering after attending the prom with her daughter earlier in the evening. Her presence remained within the context of the event as it progressed through the night. By the later hours, the gathering consisted of multiple groups spread across different parts of the property, with no consistent coordination across the full number of attendees. The post-prom gathering in Indianapolis, Indiana had been underway for several hours when residents and witnesses reported unusual activity near the rental property. Several accounts described a white vehicle in the vicinity shortly before the incident. Local reporting also indicates that security footage from the surrounding area captured a white vehicle near the scene around the same time frame. Shortly after these sightings, gunfire broke out across the property. The shots were rapid and occurred in succession, affecting both the interior and exterior areas of the residence. People inside and outside the home moved in different directions as the situation developed, with individuals attempting to exit through available access points, while others sought cover within the structure and surrounding spaces. During the incident, Brittany Grundy was struck while still within the area of the gathering. Emergency calls were made within minutes, reporting active gunfire and multiple injured individuals at the location. Officers from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department arrived at a scene involving multiple victims distributed across different parts of the property. Brittany Grundy was confirmed dead at the scene. Detectives began by documenting physical evidence, including shell casings, bullet impact points, and damage observed inside and outside the property. Early findings suggested multiple rounds were fired in quick succession, raising the possibility that more than one firearm was involved. Investigators separated attendees for individual interviews in order to establish a consistent timeline of events. They focused on identifying who organized the gathering, how many people were present, and whether any disputes occurred before the shooting began. Attention also turned to how firearms may have entered the residence and whether they were brought in prior to or during the event. Officers collected and reviewed digital evidence connected to the gathering, including social media posts, messages, and location data tied to the event. Surveillance footage from surrounding areas was also obtained to track movement before and after the shooting. This material was used to help verify witness statements and establish a sequence of activity leading up to the incident. At this stage, no suspect has been publicly identified, and the motive remains undetermined. Investigators continue to analyze forensic results and cross-reference all available evidence as the case remains open. Following the shooting at a post-prom gathering in Indianapolis, attention shifted to the life of Brittany Grundy and the community response after her death. She was described by people close to her as a mother who prioritized her daughter's milestones, and she was present at the celebration that night in support of that occasion. In the aftermath, residents and attendees questioned how the environment transitioned from a planned event into a fatal scene. Investigators continued working through physical evidence and witness statements to establish the sequence of events. Community response focused on the contrast between the purpose of the night and the outcome. Informal remembrance gatherings were held, and public discussion centered on Brittany's presence at the event and the fact that she was not linked to any known conflict at the gathering. Online commentary reflected attempts to understand how the situation escalated within a setting that was not associated with prior issues involving her. Law enforcement continued examining how weapons entered the location and what triggered the shooting. Investigators maintained open channels for public information while reviewing forensic findings and interview material. The case remains active, with authorities still working to determine responsibility and clarify the circumstances that led to the fatal incident. And that concludes today's case. Here at True Crime Dark Diaries, we're committed to digging beneath the surface, giving a voice to those who can no longer speak, and making sure their stories are never lost to time. So don't forget to subscribe, tap the like button, and turn on notifications, so you're always first to know when a new story drops. We release fresh investigations regularly, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's next. Before you go, share your thoughts in the comments. Which part of this case resonated with you most? Your voice helps keep these stories alive. Until next time, stay alert, stay safe, and remember, the search for justice always begins with the truth. True Crime Dark Diaries, where every case finds its voice.